Have you guys ever wondered why amazing things happen to some people, but they don't happen to you? In this episode, we're going to be sharing exactly why this happens. My name is Diana Lizrazo, and my co host is Jacqueline Francis. Hey, Jacqueline.
Hi, this is such an exciting topic.
It is. I love this. We're going to let everyone in some crazy secrets that
hmm
if you implement, it will come and you will see results immediately and you'll start even just seeing what you're doing to yourself. So I
Yes.
think it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, and I mean, think about it. You know, you have that friend, that coworker, and you're like, why are all those things happening to them? But they're just not happening to me. So you start
Mhm.
to like go into this, oh, why me? Oh my gosh, nothing good ever happens to me. I mean, if this feels like you, please leave a comment down below because I've been there.
Yeah. Or we think we're not, that's not us. Like, oh, they're just lucky. I feel like that's a very big thing that people,
That's a big one.
they're lucky. It's like they have that privilege for some reason. We're all humans, guys. We're all the same. It's not, there's no luck involved in anything.
No luck. But it's funny how our brains will automatically make that assumption. They're lucky. So what it's saying to us, or what we're saying to ourselves, is that we're unlucky.
Yeah, or we're unworthy.
Yeah. And then we carry that around with ourselves throughout our life. So what
100%.
happens when we carry this belief around, right? You start experiencing more things in your life that confirms that you are unlucky.
100%. And I think that's what makes it even worse is that we get all these confirmations of exactly what we're thinking, which just makes it even like, oh, see, I told you, like, that's not for me. That's definitely only for them. So let's flip the script. So I'm going to start with a definition and a little blurb, and then we're going to start talking about it. So, where are we?
Okay. Hold
So,
on. Hold on. Can you cut for a second? I need to change my name.
okay. Oh,
I just realized that right now. I'm like, I need to find a pause to tell her.
okay. So here's a little blurb, a definition that I want to share with everyone, and then we'll start chatting about it.
Yeah.
Attitude is defined as the position or bearing as indicating action, feeling, or mood. And it is our actions, feelings, or moods that determine the actions, feelings, or moods of others. Our attitude tells the world what we expect in return. I think and it says so much in this. What are your
It
thoughts?
does. It does. I mean, when we think about the attitude that we have for different things, it changes, right?
Mhm,
When somebody tells you to do something and you don't like to do it, you can have an attitude about that.
mhm. And
If somebody,
energetically,
yes.
you're feeling that push from that person
Yeah.
when they're like, oh,
Yeah.
no, 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 what are you doing? And then all of a sudden you're feeling that negativity. You're like, oh, okay, I shouldn't have asked that or said that or whatever.
Right. Or you can become rude to somebody, so your attitude will change because you're perceiving something in a way that doesn't feel good to you without always like knowing the backstory or just being in a place of seeing it differently.
100%. And I see that happening. That happens a lot, especially as you get older. You have so much history of things
Yeah.
that you've learned that this first impression of anything comes so quickly. And
Yes.
for example, you've had a bad situation happen to you, you see these signs all of a sudden coming again, and then all of a sudden you're like, this is gonna happen, like quickly, your mind goes like, this is gonna happen, it's gonna be, I'm gonna feel this way, this person's gonna behave like this, da, da, da. Like you do it in seconds. All this stuff comes into your mind, and you're either running away from it or just getting angry about it and giving the attitude, like whatever you start doing, and then you've already basically what it says, now you've put this energy out there, this attitude toward a situation that basically proved you right, that you're just like, oh, these all these bad things are going to happen, and then like boom, 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 they are exactly happening to you because of just like how your attitude was. And we all sense that around it. We can tell, you can tell when someone's angry.
Yeah.
Like, it's annoying, even your teenager kids when they give you attitude, you're like,
And you know
no.
what? That's the example I was thinking about. Imagine when you were younger and your parents were like, I need you to clean up your room. All of a sudden you have this like, oh, I don't want to do that right now. And they're like, change your attitude. Stop having a bad attitude. And you're just like, why are they in my space? Like, leave me alone. Right? And then that energetic exchange, like, and you don't realize it, and your parents are feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm just trying to help them have a clean room. I'm just trying to teach them responsibility. So the message that the parents are like asking for is with good intention, but now you are perceiving like that as I don't have time for this. This is a waste of my time. How is this going to get me further in life? Or
Mhm.
it's cutting into something that you're doing in that moment.
Mhm.
So you automatically shift into this, no, I'm not going to do it with like this like attitude.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
going to actually share with you an addition to the definition that you just said.
Okay, sounds good.
So, attitude is the composition of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. It is not just your thoughts, nor is it just your feelings, but it is your thoughts and feelings when combined and expressed in your action. And I got this part of the definition from Think and Grow Rich by Bob Proctor on chapter 9 called The Magic Word, The Magic of Attitude. And I'm
Mhm.
going to be referencing this book as we continue with our discussion today.
Sounds good. And actually, you just made me think of something very, very important. Was I like how it says is the thought with combination of the emotion, because if you actually realize the thought that we have is a neutral thought. It's not positive, it's not negative, it's just a thought. And it's us that puts that feeling into it where it's going to become a positive or negative thought into it. And that's where everything starts going. Because if you think, for example, a guy approaches you and you're just like, oh God, another loser that doesn't know how to talk to me again. Oh my God. And then what happens, even though it's in your mind, you're attracting those, or that person will feel it energetically, and they may be the
Yeah.
nicest person, and then all of a sudden they just get this thing of like, they will think like, oh, what is that girl, and like they just won't like that, and then they start giving you exactly what you've asked for.
Yeah,
and
it's so
and you
true.
and then you and yourself, you're proving yourself right. You're like, look at that, another loser, just as I expected, you know and I feel that, and the reason I put that in is being single. And then meeting single friends and stuff like that. I have to say, I meet a lot of women, especially, actually men too, but I feel like because I'm trying to create women's groups, to like hang out with, that they're so angry.
Ooh.
And it's like you see that they have like, and I totally understand, you come from relationships where you're so stressed out taking care of kids, like being these super women, right? And then it's just kind of like you have all these perceptions of like, let's say, men or whatever, and then if women go into their rants even more, because then like the other one's like, yeah, mine's an asshole, and mine's a this, and mine's a that, and just like this chaos happens where it's
Oh,
like all of a sudden we're like, women are like hating men or something.
it's their attitude
Yeah.
towards men, right?
Yeah, and so that was something. That's why I brought that up, because I've been feeling like I've been noticing that a lot, and I'm just like, whoa. I was like, that's a lot of anger towards men, and then they wonder why they're not finding good guys out there, and it's just kind of
Exactly.
like you can't put this negativity out there and expect an amazing situation to happen. It's
Yeah.
like, and and then it's really interesting where it's like that, like, okay, like the thought, oh, look at, there's a guy there. Now start, instead of think, and then start putting the right words. Actually, there's apparently a book that was written about it, and this woman would do this to her teenager actually. Like that, like parents will always say like, oh, like there's my children are so annoying or so this like
Yeah.
negative things, right? And then she would actually always say, even if it weren't true, she would always say, she's like, oh, my daughter is so good. She's always so well behaved. Even if other mothers were saying, like, complaining about their kids, she would always talk actually positively about it. And they said that because, and then clearly, and especially even more obviously around her daughter. And, and, and this said that when you're hearing that, it makes you, as the daughter would make her want to live to that level of like being this amazing good girl because that's what the mom says. And it's like you don't even
Right.
realize that you're being programmed as the teenager. And she said she read it in a book, and so she would only say positive things, even though, let's say, her daughter was giving attitude that day or something, she would just be saying the opposite. And I found it interesting because it's like also we can influence others in that way too.
Yeah,
I
we
mean, we're always
can.
influencing each other, right?
We
So just
are.
why not put those positive words in there? Like, oh, I'm gonna have an amazing dinner with friends, or I'm gonna have, we're going to resolve this issue that we're having in business in this amazing way, and it's gonna be an amazing impact to the business or whatever. It's like that initial thought, and then putting like that something positive around it. And probably I would say start with something small, because I feel like we all need that little proof of concept to kind of get our confidence going,
Absolutely.
right? Because
That's what
I
the
because I'm
subconscious
sure,
mind is looking for. It needs
yeah,
proof,
yeah.
right?
And also because it's obviously hard to it's like to change those. Like imagine you're like a person that hates women or hates men, and then when you're trying to do it, you can, because you can, what's really interesting is you can actually you'll start seeing your thoughts, and you'll start seeing that initial, for example, like anger or frustration come out,
Right.
and then all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I've already put that thought in, and you realize, at least you're getting that realization that, oof, I've already put this negative feeling in there, and you're going to have to change it, or it may still come out a little negative, but you're starting to also notice how your emotions are getting in there. And then you start kind of changing them. And you're like, okay, maybe in this one it didn't go so well, right? But then in
Yeah.
the next one, you start feeling, okay, maybe you start, maybe if anything, mentally preparing yourself beforehand to make sure a more positive thought will come into something.
But it takes awareness and it takes practice. See, me and you
Yes.
can talk about this so easily because this is what we've committed to do in our lives. But for people just starting out, think of it as a challenge for yourself because our mind tends to always go to things that are not going to work out for us, right? It's a sort of like a built-in mechanism to protect us and keep us safe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to us to start to recognize what kind of attitude are we holding towards the things that we don't like, the things that we like, towards others, to ourselves. And once we start to recognize that, then we can start to shift the stories. So I
Mm-hmm.
want to share with you three things that attitude determines. Okay. So number one is how you perceive challenges as setbacks or as setups, right? That's what your attitude is. The number one thing that attitude determines. Number two, how you respond to people. Are you responding in a defensive tone or are you like responding in a grounded tone to others, right? And number three, ultimately, it's what you attract. So,
Mm-hmm.
what you spoke about before, because energy doesn't lie. So, your attitude will determine what you're bringing towards you and what you're repelling. And
I
this is
love that.
comes back to what we said in the beginning, right? We don't even know why things aren't happening for us, but then we look at others and we're like, "Oh, why are things happening to them?" Because it's not about other people. At the end of the day, it's our own selves,
Yeah.
right? If
Yeah.
you can change your attitude towards something that you're perceiving towards a person, you ultimately bring that energy back to you. Good or bad.
100%. Yeah, yeah. Good or bad, yeah, exactly. And I want to give an example actually that happened. I think it was last weekend. So I had a friend asking for advice, and their conversation was a lot about, I want to sell this house,
Yeah.
or getting my advice. But their mentality behind, you could tell, was like, I just want to sell this house. Like, we're having so many problems. We're spending so much
Oh,
money. And they're just like, and I think they've only had it for maybe 3, 4 months or something. But
yeah.
they're frustrated with the situation. Actually, maybe 6 months, but they're frustrated with the situation. And it was funny how one word flipped their mind. And all
Oh.
I, and not really, I mean, one word, but like there's a whole conversation. But I was just kind of like, all this money you're spending on it, I'm like, think of it as you're spending money for a course and that this is your learning experience. I'm like, you want to go bigger, you want to buy a building. I'm like, understand what it is to how to manage property managers, how to deal with
Mm,
repair people, and how to
right.
understand. I'm like, you need to get to know more detailed repair stuff. Like, you need to understand how your furnace works, your AC works, the plumbing works. In a general sense, you got to understand it. And then all of a sudden she goes to her husband because he wasn't there at that time, and he had to go grab something or whatever. He comes back and she was like, oh my god, we need to take this as a learning experience. And to me, and it was funny because like that, like if it weren't for me to say it,
Yeah.
their mind would still be in this. And this was we had a conversation already 3 months before about this, that they were frustrated with all the
Right.
problems, and there, and in that time it was again asking for more, asking for advice.
Right.
And sometimes you just like that one word, it's changing it. Like you said, it's like they're in this negative mode, and then all of a sudden, oh, learning experience,
You
right? And
helped
then
them
in
change their
that,
attitude towards what was happening.
exactly
So
like
you
that, like,
shifted their perspective.
yeah, and like that, because you have that thought, and then maybe the whole situation happens, because generally that's how it's going to go, is this whole situation is going to happen not in the way you wanted it to,
Mm-hmm.
but then you're going to reflect because you're like, oh, learning, oh man, I did
Yeah.
feel this feeling, or this happened, so I must have been feeling these feelings, right? Like you start kind of regressing back, and then sooner or later it happens. And then it's really interesting because at least this is the process that happened to me, is I would go through a situation, and then you're thinking back like, oh, why did this negative
Yeah.
thing happen, right?
That's
Why did
right.
I do this? Like, what did I do to make this happen to me? You start questioning yourself, right? And it happens at the end. And then after some time of these many, many times happening at the end of it, like when the situation has happened in more of a reflective state, then all of a sudden you see yourself doing it in the process. But the thing is, it's like almost, I guess, my ego or my pride wouldn't let me stop, because I would be like watching myself doing it. I'm like, Diana, stop it.
Just stop!
I was
But
like,
you keep
don't do
doing
it. You
it.
know what you're doing right now. But then at least I'd be bringing awareness during the process,
It's
right?
so
And
true.
then what happened was and then I would start noticing it. Then I started feeling the feeling, and I was like, oof, that like I'd have that thought, and I'd feel that negativity come, and then I'd kind of go into this meditative state of like trying to change my negativeness, but it wouldn't really happen because again, I that feeling, that strength of that negative feeling, is really hard, and it gets ingrained in there,
Strong.
especially if it's something that's been there for many years.
Yes.
And then so it was just kind of like, and also you're kind of in that doubt, right? So it still may not happen, but you're at least progressing and you're seeing it happening forward. And then you start kind of building strategies around how whatever works for you. And that's why I also say I think that small, doing something very easy that
Yeah.
you can control, or things that you don't really get triggered by so easily, those are
Right.
probably the best. I feel like those are the best ones to start with, because it helps building that confidence and faith in yourself to go to those bigger
Yeah.
things that may be hard, because it's like you look at it and you're angry in a second, and like those ones, stay away from those ones. Practice something a little simpler, no?
And this is a great segue into understanding how to change your attitude because people want to know, right? Well, if they're noticing through this conversation that you're holding an attitude towards something that doesn't feel good, that you're not confident in, that's not serving you, well, how do you change it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, it's an inside job.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else can help you change your attitude except for you,
Yeah.
right? And we've said this many times, but it's having the awareness, coming back to the awareness that there's something that happens at every time you interact with this situation, this person that's causing some dissonance in your body, if that's the right word, or some like a bit of a disconnect,
Mm-hmm.
where you, instead of you giving it like this negative attitude or pushing that attitude there, take a look and see how could you be more gentle with it. And it can be difficult, right? Now, when you start to shift your state from negative to positive, you're not just reinforcing positive thoughts. So it's not about just like, oh, I'm going to deal with this thing. Let me just think positive, positive, because we're not just covering it up. You want to make lasting change, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, number one, what I would suggest you do, get aware of what your default vibe is. So,
Mm-hmm.
if you know that you're going to meet a coworker and every time you meet them, you give this like, oh my God, yeah, okay, yeah, like you're not interested vibe, recognize that. Look back at the times that you've done that and be like, oh my gosh, how is that making that other person feel? Right? Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe they genuinely wanted to come to you because you're somebody that they feel safe sharing things with. Maybe you're the person that they wanted to come to because there's no one else that they can, talk to at work, like whatever that is. And here you are, like, making them feel unsafe and unseen, right?
Yeah.
Reinforcing their negative and limiting beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So when you can ask yourself, like, what energy do I want to lead with today?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is it a lack of power or do I want to take my power back? And only you can control that. If you are not aware of this, transformation doesn't happen. It is one of the key things to changing your behavior, ultimately changing your results. Number two is interrupt that negative loop. Okay, if you're like, oh, this person is always so, every time, and you talked about this, right? Every time you think something negative about a situation, a person, and this and that, it's just reinforcing that loop. So then you're just bringing more of that to yourself. So when you catch yourself spiraling, instead of being like, oh my gosh, like nothing's working for me, this is so hard, you can literally say something like, cancel, reframe, stop for a minute, clear the screen,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where you literally have to say that to yourself to bring that thought to stop. Because
Yeah.
you can't expect the person to do it. They'll be like, what? You want me to do what? Right? And then replace it with something grounded. So something like, for example, this situation, like, what is the situation guiding me towards? Um, is this situation guiding me to be a better person? Yes or no, right? And if it's like yes, then you're like, okay, well then what actions do I take? Maybe I limit my interaction with this person. If it's no, then you adjust accordingly and be like, okay, well, how am I showing up then? And it's that introspective ability that is going to lead to change.
Mm-hmm.
Number three, upgrade your self-talk.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God. And
Yeah.
it's a
How
tough
many
one.
times? Yeah. How many times do we catch ourselves like, I'm not doing this, I'm terrible at this, ah, da, da, da. Because your attitude follows your identity,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if
Your
you see
self
yourself,
worth.
yeah, if you see yourself as someone who's struggling, that's an identity. That
Yeah.
means you are operating from a place of I'm someone that struggles, so everything I do is going to be a struggle to get done.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to hold on to that?
Actually, can I
No.
share a story that's actually
Yes.
specifically? So there's this guy who really wants to get his business huge. And you know, like what his intro basically was to me, not intro, but part of like his story was um that I'm poor and I'm brought up in a poor like lifestyle. And he just emphasized this so much. And I felt like, can you like does is that really going to help you with this amazing business that you want to build? And it's like you can tell that he's ingrained in that
Mhm.
story. And it's
Right,
just kind of like, so now you have this contradiction that
right.
you're poor, but you're trying to build a business that's highly successful, but
But
you're
you're reinforcing the I'm poor, I've been poor, I've lived in lack. This is
yeah.
my vibration. right?
Yeah, it was this, yeah, like you could just tell like he really identifies as this poor person. And what is that going to do? What you were saying, it's going to make it even harder because sooner or later he's going to have to let go of that identity. Like you can say like, "Oh, I came from this environment and I've achieved this," but if you identify as someone that doesn't have something, how are you supposed to have that thing?
Yeah,
I, and it's just like,
exactly.
yeah. So I wanted to share that because I feel like we don't realize that we identify a lot to certain things, and then we're contradicting ourselves because like we're trying to achieve this,
Right.
but I am this, and you're just like,
Right. Like, do you guys see the disconnect here? If you keep identifying with a story, and not to say that that didn't get you to where you are, but if you keep reinforcing that story, how do you expect to get to another level of your life by embodying that new version of you, the wealthy version, the version of you that's in that stable relationship?
that
If you
happy,
keep,
yeah,
right, if you keep going over here and being like, but every relationship never worked out for me, but I was poor all my life. Like you're sending two different signals out.
poor brain is confused.
Yeah. So
You're like,
you're
you're
getting
saying I'm
back,
this, but you want this. So it's
right.
like this want will never come. Oh, at least in the moment, it's just a fantasy because it's like, oh, but we're this. Your brain's like, oh, okay, we're this. We're poor. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
You repel it because what will actually happen is you're going to get what you're most in harmony with. So,
Mm-hmm.
what are you actually, which is the stronger emotion,
Mm-hmm.
right? The one that I was poor.
Yeah.
Because that's what you practiced for 30, 40, 50 years of your life. You haven't practiced being the wealthy version of you. So
Mm-hmm.
then you're like, I'm trying to build this business of this wealth and all these amazing things, but I am in the story, but nothing's working. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
hope this makes sense to you guys. And if this
Yeah.
is resonating with you, please leave us a comment. Let us know what story you're stuck in so we can help you shift and guide you.
Change it for you. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, ultimately, our attitude isn't fixed, right? We're malleable. We're not, that saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Yeah, you can. If you're
Yeah.
willing to learn, you can. But just that story alone, and I've heard so many people say that, well, this is how I am.
Yeah.
I'm never going to change.
Oh my God. I get so annoyed when people say that.
Right.
As I'm
Like,
like, of course you can. And you just really see how they're really stuck
they're
in
rooted in that,
that,
right?
yeah, behavior. And they just, and it's like, oh man, you could change if you want to change.
Yeah,
Like no one can, you can't do like a 360 so quickly, but it's like you can definitely, given yourself time and acceptance, you can definitely
exactly.
be whoever you want to be. And it's just like, yeah, I feel like I feel like that's I feel like my biggest one. I hate when people say that. Like I hate that with a passion. 'Cause I'm like, no, don't say that. It's
Right?
not true.
And it's so funny because I used to always like hear these like cliche things when I was younger, but I'm like, there's a truth to like all of these things that you hear. If you really want to change, you can try your hardest and you can change, right? Or like whatever thing. But it's so true. Every moment is the moment that you can decide to choose a new thought, choose a new attitude, become a different person.
100%. I completely agree. And why not? It's just like why not have that amazing life that you want to have? Well, stop dreaming about it. It's just
Right?
let's have fun
Stop.
and enjoy the life that you do want to have.
Exactly. Stop being the victim of your circumstance,
Hmm.
right? It's
Oh, and that's
very,
one thing I did want to say also, because
yeah,
you were talking about I forget what you said, but one of the things I think also, which is very hard, is basically we don't realize we're in that victim mentality.
right.
And oh, that's what you said. But you were saying like we need to bring awareness to it. But I think on top of that, accepting it too, that was me being the victim and that now I'm willing to change because I think that part of accepting that yes, I was behaving as a victim, I feel that a lot of people also struggle with that too.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that like acknowledging that. I don't know what it is in us. Like it's just like we don't like to be told that we're probably like less than anything.
Or
And so
that we're
it's just,
wrong. We
or
can't
that we're
accept sometimes
wrong.
telling some
Yeah,
people telling us like, no, that wasn't good, change. Like it's hard to accept that self-criticism because you take it as a personal attack, which it's
exactly.
not,
Yeah. Even if
right?
you're doing it to yourself, right? Because if you realize,
Yeah,
oh, I'm being a victim, but you still don't like to hear that within yourself, like you start bringing these awarenesses, but it is tough. So also accepting it
yeah,
and being like, but I want to learn and change, and I want to
yes,
become the better version of
yeah.
myself because I know I can be.
And that's got to be stronger than actually remaining the same.
Yes.
Right? So your choice. Do you want to stay in victim energy or do you want to be the mastery of your decisions, of
Hmm.
how you show up in this world, right? Like
Hmm.
we have that choice every single day. And when you start to actually make that, when you first make that decision that I'm going to be the master of my life, I'm going to, you know, be the creator of my life, then slowly the awareness starts to come to you and you start to shift into more of that aligned version. I don't think we're meant to struggle and strive and make life difficult. That is not what, being born into this world was the intention of our souls coming here,
Hmm.
right? But it's just the way life sort of unfolds for us and all these societal expectations and norms that make us that put all these judgment onto us and then
Yeah,
we
it's our
hold on to it.
environment.
Yeah,
And then it's just us trying to change that. And I mean, and you see it generally generationally, it is changing. Like how
it
our
is.
parents, the struggles they went through, and then obviously they want to change things for us, and they do things differently because they're kind of learned from their mistakes, and then we learn from what our parents did and learn what we
Yeah,
do or do not like. And then so you do see the changes happening through the generations, which is nice. And even that should be an indication that, I mean, why not change yourself quicker in the sense, don't wait for, I feel like a lot of people wait, okay, I'm gonna do better for my kids. You do better for yourself too,
yeah,
because also anyways, your kids are going to, they're all about it's not what you say, it's what you do. Right. And it's like might as
that's
well
right.
start doing it now. Because
That's
also
right.
why, like, you want an amazing life for your kids, but also don't you want one for yourself too? Come on.
And you can't have that amazing life for your kids if you don't start making the changes within you.
Hmm.
Otherwise, the kids are not going to experience that amazing life because you're going to keep self-sabotaging it
Yeah.
by the
And
way that you're stuck in your own, like, world of limiting beliefs and worries and anger and frustration and so on and so on and so on,
hmm.
right? What I'd love to do is I'd love to give everybody like a tangible thing to do. And if this is really resonating with you, I would love for you to write a release letter. So what that is you're going to sit down with a pen and a piece of paper. Don't type it out. There's power in pen to paper, and you're going to write a letter to an earlier version of yourself. Okay, write down everything that comes to mind and say, thank you for showing me who I needed to be now. And just, write down past mistakes that you felt guilty for. Write down things that didn't serve you. And now, you're a better off person because of this. And that release letter will help you to change your attitude and shift it into something that is in alignment with who you are now and where you're going. And
Hmm.
then with that release letter, if you can, burn it. Burn it because you're almost like sending it off, or you can rip it up and discard it in a place where the energy doesn't necessarily come near you and you're, just releasing it into the ether and saying, like, thank you. That's no longer who I am. I choose to be this. And it
Hmm.
begins, it sets for you a new way of being and
Hmm.
stepping into having a better attitude for things in your life.
Yes, yeah. And writing that down even will make you probably realize things that you didn't realize, because sometimes you need to put pen to paper to actually, sometimes there's lots of people I know, it's like all of a sudden they can't stop writing because you're like, oh, what about this? What
Yeah,
about that? And you just start having these realizations because you've actually focused your mind on it to start really thinking about what is really going on with you.
And then you appreciate where you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. Oh my
I
God,
think we
Jacqueline.
gave
Mhm.
everyone so much great information, and they can now understand where you are with your attitude towards things and how to shift it.
100%. And start with like that, the little small things that are easier, the ones that probably like that they don't trigger you hardcore. Start with something simpler that doesn't even trigger you at all. Because it even helps you to start actually noticing, for example, the emotions you have with the thought, right?
Mhm.
And even you can use those to kind of start guiding you that to give you the certain triggers that you need to start realizing them in much bigger situations that you know may be more difficult for you too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jacqueline, thank you so much. I really love this topic. Please share with us if, if this helped you, maybe what problems you went through. We can give some advice to make sure you're successful in what you want. Jacqueline, thank you so much. I always love
Thank you.
chatting
This
with
was
you.
amazing, as always.
We'll see everyone at the next episode. Bye,
Bye for
everyone.
now.